Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night, heart pounding, mind racing, unable to name the dread that grips you, but certain it's more than just another bad dream? Maybe you felt it in a silent moment, scrolling your phone long after midnight, surrounded by the digital hum of connection, yet haunted by a sinking sense that your life is missing something essential. Why is it that, in a world obsessed with self-help and happiness, so many of us are secretly plagued by anxiety, not just anxiety about our jobs, our relationships, or even our futures, but a deeper anxiety about being itself? What if I told you that your fear is not a flaw, but a clue, a hidden doorway to a kind of courage most people never discover? Today, we're going to explore the terrifying yet liberating truth at the heart of your existence. We'll journey with philosopher Paul Tillich, who didn't just study courage, he redefined what it means to truly be alive, especially when everything seems meaningless, hopeless, or out of control. By the end of this video, you'll learn why your deepest fears about death, about meaninglessness, about not being enough are not problems to escape, but invitations to a new kind of strength. You'll gain tools to name, face, and even transform your anxiety, and perhaps discover, for the first time, the real courage to be. So, are you ready to face what you've spent your whole life running from? Are you willing, just for these next few minutes, to confront the question that might change everything? What does it really mean to exist and to find the courage to stay true to yourself, no matter what? Let's begin with a difficult question. What is the real source of your fear? Maybe you think it's the fear of losing your job, being rejected, growing old, or dying alone. But Tillich challenges us. Beneath every surface anxiety is a deeper existential dread, the fear of non-being. Non-being. It sounds abstract, but it's painfully real. It's the sense that one day, you and everything you've ever known will vanish, that your efforts might ultimately mean nothing, that behind all your plans and achievements, there's an abyss. Tillich breaks existential anxiety into three main forms: fate and death, the anxiety that your life is fragile, subject to forces beyond your control, and will ultimately end in death. Emptiness and meaninglessness, the anxiety that even if you survive, your life might not matter, that nothing you do has true significance. Guilt and condemnation, the anxiety that you will be judged, found wanting, or even condemned by some inner or outer standard. Have you ever caught yourself spiraling into these fears? Maybe after a loss, a breakup, or simply staring into the mirror too long. Did you try to push the fear away through distraction, denial, or relentless self-improvement? Anxiety is not just a symptom to medicate or a monster to escape. It's the starting point of all real courage. Why does this matter for you? Because the only way out is through. When you name your fears, when you say, yes, I am afraid of death, meaninglessness, and judgment, you finally start to claim your power. What would change in your life if you stopped running from your anxiety and started seeing it as a signal, a teacher, even an invitation? Tonight, before bed, instead of numbing out, try writing down the three anxieties that most haunt you. Name them. Don't judge or solve them yet. Just see what happens when you bring them into the open. We live in an age obsessed with overcoming anxiety. Apps, pills, positive thinking, hustle culture, they all promise to help you beat fear. But Tillich warns us, the attempt to escape anxiety is itself the root of our suffering. He calls it the courage to be as oneself, the ability to affirm your own existence, despite anxiety, not in the absence of it. How often do you catch yourself trying to outrun discomfort, switching jobs, partners, cities, hobbies, hoping to find peace at last? How often do you tell yourself, when I finally have X, then I'll be whole? But after every escape, the anxiety returns, often stronger. Why? Because you can't escape yourself or the fundamental condition of being human. Imagine this. You're standing at the edge of a dark forest. Every path promises a way out, but you know, deep down, you have to walk through the woods, not around them. Tillich teaches, real courage is not the absence of fear, but the embrace of your own vulnerability, the willingness to be yourself, here and now, with all your flaws and uncertainties. So what does this mean for you? It means that your quest for a perfect life without anxiety is doomed to fail, and that's okay. Because meaning is born not from comfort, but from the way you carry your struggle. Next time you feel the urge to fix yourself, pause. Ask, what am I running from right now? What would it look like to just stay with this feeling without trying to change it? What if your anxiety is not a curse, but the doorway to discovering who you really are? And this brings us to the heart of Tillich's philosophy, the courage to be, not the courage to conquer, to become someone else, or to live without fear, but the courage to affirm your own being in the very face of non-being. Tillich writes that, in a world without guarantees, where meaning is no longer handed down by tradition or faith, the modern individual is thrown into the task of creating meaning for themselves. This is terrifying, but it's also liberating. Courage, for Tillich, is the self-affirmation of being in spite of the threat of non-being. It is saying yes to your life, your history, your future, even when you can't be certain of the outcome. Have you ever stood in front of a blank page, a new job, a relationship after heartbreak, and felt the urge to turn away? Have you ever felt the pull to numb yourself or disappear? The courage to be means showing up anyway, letting yourself be seen, heard, and counted, even if the world doesn't notice. Why does this matter to you? Because the moment you dare to affirm your own existence flawed, afraid, and unfinished is the moment you reclaim your freedom. Today, choose one thing you've been avoiding out of fear, one conversation, one dream, one truth. Take a small step toward it, not because you're unafraid, but because your life is too precious to waste in hiding. Let's pause and synthesize. The courage to be isn't about heroism in the eyes of the world. It's about the quiet, stubborn act of being yourself, come what may. But what happens when anxiety becomes overwhelming, when it threatens to break you? Tillich doesn't offer easy answers. Instead, he invites us to a radical practice, the courage to accept acceptance. It's not enough to affirm yourself in isolation. True courage, he argues, comes from recognizing that you are already accepted by existence itself, that despite your flaws, you belong. This is not cheap reassurance. It's a call to drop the endless self-judgment and allow yourself to be human, to grieve your limits, to mourn your failures, but never to disown your own being. Tillich says, the courage to be is rooted in the God who appears when God has disappeared, in the anxiety of doubt. Whether or not you believe in God, the point is universal. Your ultimate source of courage is the acceptance that comes not from external achievement, but from embracing your own being, even when you feel lost. So what does this mean for your journey? It means you don't have to fix yourself to be worthy. You don't have to become perfect to deserve existence. Your courage is found in the simple, difficult act of accepting your humanity. When you catch yourself spiraling into despair, try this. Place your hand on your heart, breathe deeply, and say, "I am afraid, and I am still here." Let that be enough for now. What would your life look like if you stopped disowning your pain and started claiming your place in the world, even as an unfinished, imperfect being? We've named our anxiety, refused to run, affirmed our existence, and accepted acceptance. But now comes the hardest part. How do you keep living with courage when life keeps throwing uncertainty and loss your way? Tillich's final gift is this. Courage is not a one-time achievement, but a daily practice. It is forged in the small decisions, the choice to get up, to speak, to care, to create even when the outcome is unknown. You don't have to become a hero, a saint, or a philosopher. You just have to keep showing up for your life, one imperfect day at a time. Why does this matter for you? Because in the end, the measure of your existence is not in your ability to banish fear, but in your willingness to keep loving, striving, and making meaning anyway. Tonight, as you reflect on this video, ask yourself, where in my life have I been waiting for certainty before acting? What would it mean to take one step, however small, toward being fully alive right now? Let's step back and see the bigger picture. You are not alone in your anxiety. Every human who has ever truly lived has faced the same abyss, the terror of non-being, the ache of meaninglessness, the weight of guilt and judgment. But your pain is also your power. To exist at all is an act of courage. Paul Tillich teaches that in a world stripped of easy answers, your greatest task is not to escape anxiety, but to let it transform you. To let fear become a signal, a signpost pointing you back to the living core of who you are. Maybe you can't answer every existential question, but you can choose again and again to say yes to your life, to carry your anxiety, not as a burden to hide, but as proof that you are awake, alive, and open to transformation. Remember, the courage to be is not something you are born with. It is something you build, moment by moment, as you face your limits, embrace your doubts, and step into the world with open eyes. So let's recap what we've uncovered today. Naming the enemy. You learn to recognize existential anxiety not just as a problem, but as the doorway to your own courage. The myth of escape. You saw why running from anxiety never works and how only by staying present do you begin to grow. The courage to be. You discovered that affirming your own existence, despite fear and uncertainty, is the core of real freedom. Acceptance. You found that true courage is rooted in accepting yourself, even when you fall short. Daily practice. You realized that courage is not a destination, but a daily act built in small moments, not grand gestures. Anxiety is not your enemy, but your companion in growth. You don't need to be perfect to be worthy. Meaning is made, not given, and every step you take into your fear is a step into freedom. Tonight and in the days ahead, dare to name your fears. Sit with them. Affirm your existence, not despite your flaws, but because of them. Accept the invitation of your own life. And if this video sparked something in you, I want to hear from you. in the comments. Share. What is the deepest fear you're ready to face? How will you practice the courage to be in your own life? Starting now. Don't forget to subscribe to MindMirror for more videos that don't just ask big questions, but help you build a life of meaning, self-awareness, and transformation. And if you're ready for your next step, check out the upcoming video on how loneliness is changing your brain and how to reclaim your sense of belonging. Remember, your existence is not a mistake. Your fear is not a failure. The courage to be is yours if you are willing to claim it. Keep going. The world needs your courage, now more than ever. The ideas explored in this video are for philosophical and psychological exploration and are not intended as professional advice. Viewers are encouraged to engage in their own critical thinking and further research, and to consult with qualified professionals for personal concerns.